Okay, great. The recording started. Hey everyone, welcome for today's session. Thank you for joining. And today, as usually, we're having our regular Q&A session where we're going to have a recap what was on the previous week, what is supposed to be done, and we'll take a look at the next one. So first of all, we finished our second week. So ideally, during the second week, the following test, these are the tests regarding HTML basics and Git should be passed. So I still highly recommend to stick to weekly deadlines in terms of assignments, even though the final deadline for everything is the 10th of October. Yeah, and we know that there was lots of questions regarding HTML tests. So that's why we're working on its improvement, and yeah, we're open to any kind of feedback. So if you see that something could be improved or changed, or it's not quite clear, so please welcome, keep us posted, and give us your proposals. But anyway, so ideally these two tests should be passed, but if you didn't have a chance to finalize all the previous tests, including also RS app intro, so you still have a time to finalize everything till the 10th of October. And after the 10th of October, everything that is listed in terms of home assignments, tests, should be completed within the current week. So, so please pay attention carefully to the deadlines. Apart from that, so 10th of October, right? Maybe you wanted to invite some of your colleagues, friends to participate in the course. So it's quite high time to hurry up because we're closing the registration in a week. So the current week is the last one when you can join the program. So in case if you still haven't registered on our RS app platform, so you should be able to see the current course in the platform. You should be able to log in to see the course, see the scoreboard. If you still did not pass the registration, so please complete it today, because later on in the week we're going to close the registration for newcomers. Okay, what else do we have? So we finalized the third week, the second one, and we're starting with the third one. What do we have here? We have a couple of topics. One of them is CSS basics, so please pay attention to the materials that are provided in this module, and also the Markdown. The Markdown, in a couple of words, is used in many places, including the GitHub. So it's a quite flexible. It's quite flexible syntax, so that allows you to create and format such documents, and it supports anywhere. So the Markdown will allow you to write your documentation, and this syntax is supported by any of the platforms. Just in case if you haven't heard about the Markdown, so here is a couple of information. But to look closer in details, you can by navigating to the following module description and take a look at the links, to the useful links that are provided here. So two theoretical modules, one test, which is CSS Basics, which is added to the RS app platform, should be passed within the current week. So the deadline for the test is 10th of October. And this week, you will be given your first coding assignment. So let's take a briefly look at it. So in brief, in this task, you're going to implement your CV based on the provided criteria. But this is the first time like you're creating your CV, probably, if you haven't done it yet. This task is intended not only to master your skills in getting acquainted with the Markdown syntax and also working with GitHub, but also this is opportunity for you to mention your achievements, which could be noted by anyone, including mentors or your future interviewers. So that's kind of, I would say, important to leave as much in terms of information as is possible. So here you're going to create a CV. The main focus of the current task is to master your skills in terms of version control system, also known as Git. And what do we have here? So please pay special attention to the task requirements, because this task is checked automatically. Everything regarding branch naming, amount of commits, which exact files should be there, which pull request should be open. All these criteria will not be checked manually by people, but by Autotest. So in case if you are missing some of the criteria, unfortunately, the final score will be lower than the maximum one. The maximum score is 100. So please pay special attention to the technical requirements to achieve the highest score upon completion of the task. All right, so yeah, so this is your first home assignment. Take care of the description to the requirements. One more thing before we jump into your questions is that here is the link to the form where you can leave your any questions regarding the course, including the course flow, maybe question to the materials, anything related to the course. You can leave it both here or to prepare it to the Q&A session. In case if you left some of the questions to the table, to the forum, these all are already answered in the Discord server. So if you haven't seen it yet, so I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's in questions chat. Yeah, I thought. Yeah, so here is the questions from the forum. In case if you had asked something, yeah, so please pay attention to the following message on the questions chat. So your question should be answered here. And now, since we covered the most important topics for now, let's jump into your questions, if any. So please do not hesitate, unmute or ask in the chat. So yeah, please, let's discuss if something is not quite clear for you. Alex, I see that you're unmuted, but I'm not able to hear you, unfortunately. Okay, so you can put your questions to the chat or to unmute and speak, so by whatever means is convenient for you. Okay, Alex, I saw that you were unmuted, so if you have to ask something, and you still haven't resolved the issue with microphone, so you can post your question to the chat. Okay, for now I don't see anything. I don't know, Anna, Andre, maybe you have something else to highlight to our students?
No, for now.
Nothing from my side.
Okay, great. Since we don't, I have only one small problem with my sound. Okay, if you have anything to ask, please post your questions to the chat. So we'll wait for a couple of minutes. It's okay, good. So, question for the chat. So I believe it's related to the assignments we marked down. PR name should contain the task name as marked down on Kittens, probably additional info. What do you mean by additional info? So if you look at the documentation that I was showing previously, there is the PR requirements. So if you look at the PR review process, so here is the example of the pull request description. So by additional info means the following. So actually, we don't have any strict requirements in terms of pull request description. But since it stated here, the additional info need to be added, so we could use the following structure. This could be found on docs, app, or SQL under the pull request review process. And here is the example of additional info that could be provided to your pull request. But don't see your screen. So could you please help me? Do you able to see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
So probably something is wrong with the connectivity. Okay, so this is additional info. I believe I answered your question, Marco. Okay, anything else? Yeah, my personal recommendation, since we're having the Q&A sessions regularly at exactly the same time, that would be really great and appreciated if you come to Q&A sessions prepared. So please prepare your questions in advance in case if you want to ask something, so that we will spend all the Q&A sessions productively and everything will be clear in terms of organization, in terms of materials. So maybe you have some questions in terms of previous topics. Maybe something is not clear. So, okay, see raised hands. Dasha, please unmute.
Hello. I
Hey.
have some questions about previous previous test of HTML.
Okay.
And some questions weren't so clear because I have low percent of right answers, and I definitely know that these answers are okay. So I have a question about seems like when there is text main and the text inside, you can put only text without any p or heading tag. Is it okay? Is it also correct variant or something like about caps lock div tag? Is it also correct variant? Because there are some questions where I make it in VS Code and it works, but it isn't correct, I think.
Well, in terms of HTML validation, there are a bunch of services that could you help with this. Even though it's not only about the HTML, it's about any markup and programming languages. So even though if a code is working correctly in the environment, there is such thing as a code style. So if an HTML has a standard in terms of having defining the tag with lowercase letters, so it should be defined elsewhere. So even though it works correctly, it's not quite correct to have such in the production solution. But anyway, if you want to validate your markup in terms of whether it's HTML valid or not, you can find any solution on the internet, let's say what we have, HTML validator. Okay, so there are a bunch of services that could allow you to validate your markup according to the latest standards. And in case if something is not correct, it will be highlighted. So
Yeah,
if you're
so
interested,
I understand that this variant is not correct. Like the
Guys,
main tag
I
without.
guess it's misunderstanding.
Maybe.
Dasha is asked about the test questions. Guys, as I mentioned many times, I would pay your attention that HTML text is case insensitive. So basically, it's a best practice to use lowercase, but if someone will use uppercase, it will work. So this question is not about best practice. No, it's just about you spent enough time to read information about the text, to pay attention that it case insensitive. Some texts are required closing text, some texts no. And some texts may use only as a wrapper. Other texts in is current wrapper for some text and so on. This test is not about best practice. It's just about understanding the specifics of some texts. The attributes are, for instance, type for inputs and so on.
So maybe if I checked only the best variant when it asks to check all variants, it may mark as unright answer. When I check only the best variant.
Yeah, because you incompletely answered the question. So it's expect that you check all of the possible options.
And uppercase too. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, but thank you for highlighting the specific questions. But anyway, it's also like quite important in practice.
Yeah, so
Okay,
that's why I tried to answer only the best, and it was like disappointment that I get a low percentage.
Yeah, but anyway, don't worry about like having less total score than expected. Yeah, as I was mentioned during our previous sessions, it's well, actually, it's important, but that's not a primary target, I would say. But yeah,
Yeah, I
thank you for
understand.
mentioning.
And the only worry was that I can't pass it when it's lower than 80%, and that's why.
Oh, okay. Yep, but still, like, if in case if you miss something, yeah, that's a good idea to take a primary focus on other assignments to have a higher mark. Okay, but I believe we answered your question. Propose to move on. Trebina.
Hello. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's actually gonna be my question about tests, percentages, and how we're moving on. So in next tests that we will have like down the road, will it be always like that, where it's not about the best practice or the answer that actually people use in work, but everything possible that can be used to answer this question?
Yeah, exactly. It's both as questions on understanding the specifics of the technology, and also like if you were given some technical questions on the interview, it's not always about the best practices. It's mostly about understanding how it actually works.
Okay. Okay. So then, then my question is how we will exactly learn what the best practice is? Like, is that only from materials we will be reading, or like what exactly is the point?
So well, it suppose like that's the materials that are given would be enough for understanding in all of these aspects. But if you see that something is missing, like you mentioned about, hey, I would like to learn a bit more about best practices and it's missing in our course materials. So I would like to ask everyone to highlight such cases in terms if something is missing or you wasn't be able to find an answer in our links. So I'd like to ask the highlight such cases so that we could provide materials additionally. Yeah, and previously, like I was asked questions in private regarding what else can you recommend in terms of materials, and I answered like I asked to be more specific because it's quite hard to provide anything that could be relevant. So now that's a great topic. The best practices for CSS. Yeah, in case if you haven't found the answer in materials, so we'll provide it additionally. So I believe that's counts as an answer.
Yes. Thank you. That's actually answering my question.
Okay, great. Thanks for the question. The next one is Debbie. Debbie, you raised the hand. Please ask something.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So my question is, can we, is it possible, like maybe after a particular tax expires or something, can we get the correct answers to the questions? Because some questions are so tricky that even when we check on Google, we check the resources, even it might be correct, but it's very difficult to know what we'll get wrong. Because like for a perfect example on my own part, I don't know about others, but for the GIT questions, like I pretty much ransacked Google. I checked on the resources provided, I checked on additional resources and everything, but I still don't know what I got wrong. So is it possible that maybe at some point we'll be able to see the correct answers? Because at this point, I don't know.
Okay, that's a great point. So how do you think, is it worth organizing a separate session in terms of review the questions, or maybe we could have some sort of workshop in terms of Git? So I will like post the announcements and like ask if it's worth like having the session. In case of it's the majority will vote as yes, so we'll organize the separate session for such purpose.
Perfect. Thank you.
But after the deadline.
What?
After the deadline. Yes, the deadline is 10th of October.
Yeah, that's the deadline. Yeah, that's totally fine. That's only right. Yeah.
Okay, great. Lucas?
Hi, do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly what my previous person said. The test is very tricky. Be honest with you, if we just do those materials, some questions they ask you for put like correct answers, and you don't know how many. When you have in a brackets like 2 correct answers or 3 correct or some, it's very, very tricky because I don't know what you're thinking, because can be 2, can be 3, can be 4. It's not specific. Like if you do the test for any different fields or anything like that, and you have like A, B, C, D, you have guaranteed that one of the answer is correct. It's much easier. Otherwise, when you have like correct the correct one, all correct one, but how many you required? Because can be 2, can be 3, can be 4. It's very, very tricky. So even, I did, those courses and I pretty much understood everything, and I couldn't pass this test. So like seriously, it's really tricky. It's not give you the guarantee that you understand those things if you do and follow all materials what you attached, but it's really, really tricky. So the question is, how can we find out the better solution to make sure that we can pass this test? Thank you very much for the future references. Thank you.
So usually the materials attached should be enough, at least to get started. Yeah, the multi-answer questions, as you mentioned, like, yeah, it's a bit tricky, but that's the whole point, whether your understanding that some of the answers could be correct. So the solution for the following, if you see that you're facing some difficulties during the test, as I proposed previously, well, I'm going to launch the form for you. Till the deadline, I would like to ask everyone to post any tricky questions that you encountered during previous tests. So we're going to have a separate session for discussing all of them. Well, I will like do the following. So I will not like reveal fully the answers for the tests, but we will cover the most difficult topics for it, including like having some practice in terms of HTML or Git. So I hope it will be really useful for you for better understanding. Yeah, that's the whole point for having Q&A session. If you see that something is not clear for you in terms of understanding the material, or you encounter some difficult topic, so that's will be a great idea to highlight it on the Q&A sessions to be more productive and being able to find answer to all of your curiosities. So I believe I answered it for now. So we agreed that we're gathering the difficult questions and we're going to have a separate discussion. So I believe that should work.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, great. Debbie, just raise the hand again.
Yes, actually, I just remember something. I don't know if it's like this is more of a suggestion than a question. So the thing is, there are some questions like the usage of verb when they say like what is, or like how do I put this thing? Like, okay, you know, some questions there are check boxes whereby you can like select multiple questions, and some are radio buttons whereby you choose one of the options. Now it's I don't know. I noticed some questions whereby the word will be like what is, which is just one you're expecting one option, and they say what is, but in the option it is put like the option is actually displayed with check boxes. So that's kind of confusing, whereby one will start thinking that, oh, even though the question is, if one don't read closely, you know, you're expecting just one option, but because of the check boxes, you get confused that, oh, is it more than one option or something? So I don't know if maybe in the future, if you're expecting, if we were like expected to like pull one option, let it be radio box. If it's like multiple option, then it can be check boxes. But because like 3, 4, 5 questions have like, when you read the question, you know it's one option, but when you see the way the options are displayed, it should be like you'll be tempted to select multiple options. I don't know if what I just said makes sense, or I don't know if I'm able to pass the message, but I don't even know how to structure my question. But it's fine. If you don't understand what I'm asking, I'll try to like think of a way to like structure it and ask it on Discord if you don't understand what I'm saying. It's fine. That's all.
Yeah, that's the whole point, to have a checkboxes item that will allow you to double check your answers in terms if they are correct. Because well, if we had like the questions in our test with only one single option, it could be much easier. And if you encounter the multi-answer question, so it usually means that it could contain only one correct answer or several correct answers. It allows you to get deeper dive into the topic and to cover such areas. But yeah, it makes the whole sense for such test, and so yeah, it needs to be double checked.
Okay. Yeah, I think I get it now. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. Okay, let's find out. Okay, what else do we have from the chat? I see something. Could you comment more on the commit types? Okay, that's a great question. So let's a bit expand on what do we have in terms of commit types. So usually it refers us to the commit naming convention. So I didn't have the direct link, but I suppose, yeah, I found it. So like the overall convention for your messages, why do we need to do that? It's convenience for developers to identify which exact features are introduced, which bugs are fixes. If you have like simple messages, informative messages, it will be quite hard to track your whole development history. And when you apply the naming convention, it allows to have the structured message for every your commits to have a better understanding of your history. So by type, you can refer to the conventional commits, like the following link. And in case if you, if we didn't include it and you need it, we could post the link right here. And what the type is? The type is listed here. It's a fix, a feature, breaking change, and all of these types are possible. So all of these are the types of the commits. So by default, by the overall naming convention, so we have the following types. So I believe I answered the following question. Okay, is there any other topics to cover? Okay, seems like no. But anyway, don't worry, in case if you didn't have a chance to attend, to post a question, so still use our communication channels to raise any of the topics that you're curious about. But for today, I believe that's we're done. So thank you for your questions, for your attendance, and good luck. Have a great day.
Have a good
Have a
week.
great day.